there's like an equal time element that if we were to invite politically, if we had a speaker that was a Democrat, we would be obliged also to offer equal time in a sense to a Republican candidate if there was something presented in the context of social studies or U.S. history or things like that too. So, I mean, there is in law issues at times when schools have permitted the military to advertise, and court cases that have said that you must give equal time to alternatives or the other side of the point of view too. So we're trying to frame it in as limited a political sense as possible, but just to talk about information and options and career choices that all our students are going to be making as they exit high school. So if there was somebody who, from a trade union wanted to say, the electrical brethren want to talk about the options that are available to someone, I would think that that would be a very fine time for them to come and offer literature about careers that are potential there also. So we would be open to it. We do also have, at times, have done a separate kind of career fair where we just try to recruit people to talk about jobs as a separate thing. This is we're looking at how this will grow in a post-secondary, information-giving process.
I guess my concern is simple. I don't want us to discriminate against people being afforded the opportunity to send a message to the students about future career opportunities. On the other hand, I personally don't want these fairs to become a source of political statements, one side or the other. If you favor the war in Iraq or you advocate for something else, it's, there's a time and place for that, but it isn't at career fairs.
Exactly.
Conversely, and obviously I'm somewhat biased having been in the military, but I mean the military is a potential career just as being in the Peace Corps is a potential career opportunity, or working for the federal government. So as long as everybody has an opportunity to, present their case, I think that's perfectly appropriate. Conversely, political messages at career fairs, I think, are inappropriate, and that's the distinction I'm trying to draw. And I want to make sure I understand what our policy is as a school system, and that's the way you've explained it is perfectly satisfactory to me. Mrs. Kelly.
I guess I would say having an entity called Milton for Peace, not that everyone doesn't want peace. I think there is a political message there. And I think that if they were representing the Peace Corps, as the example you just gave, Mr. Lovely, I think that would be perfectly appropriate. But absent them having a particular career or careers that they are representing and advocating for, I think we are going over a line here, quite frankly. And I would much prefer, because essentially they're coming in as an alternative to, there's no other, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there's no other entity that's coming in presenting themselves as an alternative because the impression is that you don't want to go down that path. We really want to present to our students every single option and not really weigh in terms of being judgmental, right? And I guess my perception is that when you have an entity called Milton for Peace, nothing against the organization itself, entering that venue, I think you're tilting towards the political side.
Well, then the other side is to go back and ban both. Because in a sense, the military at a college fair doesn't necessarily belong. And if you do go and say, the military is a career, which we all admire and respect, but some people believe there are alternatives to that type of career that should be given equal information, not as far as trying to persuade or convince, but just information-wise. And hopefully at a point we're just offering and educating all our students about the choices that are available to them and allowing them to make their choices.
I think, Siobhan, you had a comment? had that microphone down.
I just want to thank you for coming and facing us and speaking as you just did, and I appreciate what you said. I think it's important to represent both sides. All due respect to everyone in the room who served in the armed forces, I do think it's important to give kids who are of high school, no offense, but impressionable, other ideas and other options. So I hear Mary Kelly's point about, is Milton for Peace an actual job organization? That's a valid point, but I also think it's important to offer what you just said, and I appreciate you saying that. That must not have been an easy thing to come and say in front of all of us, so thank you.
Ms. Bagley-Jones usurped the microphone, but it was headed to Siobhan O'Grady at the far end of the table. But well done, very, very discreet seizure of the microphone. You can have it back if you want.
I just wanted to say that I've gone to every college fair and visited the Milton for Peace table, and it's not necessarily like dissing the military. It's really just giving you options. They hand you a booklet, and it has a list of careers that you could go into if you went into a major called peace studies or any number of things. So it's really not looking down on the military in any way. It's just providing options for kids to study peace.
Just for the record, I'm perfectly comfortable. If Milton for Peace wants to sponsor that that's great for me. I mean, I'm not, as long as, if it's a career fair and they happen to be the people who bring careers to the attention of the kids, that's great. I just want everybody to have that opportunity across the board.
Right.
No discrimination against
Completely agree.
Mr. Huban.
I think Kristen hit it on the head. You know, these kids are coming in and they're going to be impressioned by what they see. And my main concern was when I saw the booklet that Siobhan had talked about. It says alternatives to the military as the headline, and the letters seem to be dripping like blood. That's what I had the issue with.
Okay. I mean, I didn't see the literature. I'm hoping that I hope that this is an objective presentation of alternatives. I mean, the military is what it is, and anybody, obviously, I've, experienced in my lifetime many different perspectives on military service, and I respect them. They're from, my friends have different views. When I was, headed to Vietnam, many of them were protesting the war, and these are my dearest friends, and I respect their judgment. But there's a place for those sorts of things. My point is that I think that a proper forum within the high school or any of our schools, if we're having a career day and you want to bring in a doctor, a candlestick maker, and an Air Force person, that's fine. I simply want the presentation to be substantive and not political.
Yes.
And at some point in time, if we have to make a judgment, I defer to you, Dr. Drotter, and Superintendent Gormley to make a decision as to whether you think it's crossed the line. And as far as I'm concerned, if you feel it's crossed the line, then I would expect it to be within your province to undertake to make sure it comes back to a straight line opportunity. Siobhan's comments are very well taken. I mean, if you're offering opportunities for career, that's great. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't excluding anybody, rather than suggesting that somebody is excluded. I just want to make sure that it's inclusive.
I think balance is the key.
And I very much appreciate Chris's comment. If there's something more to it, and there's some subliminal message, I am concerned about that, so we ought to be a little attentive to that.
I definitely am and will be.
Mrs. Sherrick.
I wondered if we could get a copy of that book that was being passed out. And also, I wondered, Dr. Jordan, when your next post-secondary meeting for gathering would be.
I think we've had them all now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
See you next year, kind of like the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's great. I mean, I don't want to make this is not intended as a big political statement by any of us. It's just a concern of making sure we understand what the school's policies are. I think you had another.
You have a brief
subject.
SAT AP presentation?
All right, yes.
Paul Hilton is coming to the rescue. Don't break it, John, because it's the only projector we have. Can't afford any others.
Just as we've been going through kind of sweeps week with results from so many different things, we did have our AP test results, and as you know, with again a goal of trying